Welcome to another episode of How I Edit. And on this episode, we're going to be playing with fire. Let's get started. So for this particular shoot, I used my Canon 80D along with a 24mm pancake lens. I shot at f-stop 2.8. My shutter speed was 1/5000th of a second. My ISO was set at 100. So we're going to get started. We're going to double click on the photo to open inside of Photoshop. And now that we're inside of Photoshop, I'm going to do a quick evaluation. I'm going to zoom in actually. I'm going to find all of the problematic areas. Okay, so because the softbox, the octabox actually was positioned fairly close to the model, we don't have that many imperfections. However, we have one or two pimples that we can remove from the face. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to start removing these imperfections with the healing brush. I'm going to head over to my layers panel. Let's make a new layer. And I'm going to grab my healing brush. I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut. And I'm going to start painting away some of these small imperfections. So now that we're done with this step, I'm just going to make a copy of both of the layers. There we go. And even though he said the octabox was positioned fairly close to the model, I'm still going to apply some skin softening. So I'm going to head over to my actions panel, and I'm going to load a custom action that I created called skin softening. I'm going to hit play to run the action. Head over to the layers panel, and I'm going to make sure that I'm painting on the layer mask with white for my opacity. I'm going to set this to 70%. I'm going to leave my flow set at 50%. I'm going to reduce the size of the brush, zoom in a bit more. Well, I'm not going to paint on the face. I have a different process for that. I'm going to lightly paint over the skin. Just to soften it a bit more. Alright, that hand in the back there is fine. Okay, zoom out. And so far so good. I'm going to merge these two layers. And I'm going to head over to my filter gallery, and I'm going to load Portrait Pro. So we are inside of Portrait Pro, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the outline and details that the software selected automatically. And I'm going to come up here to manually locate face. Let's get started. I'm going to hold the control key to zoom in. So we've made our selection, and now what we're going to do is adjust a few parameters. I'm going to turn off the face sculpt. I'm going to turn it back on just to see what it did. Sometimes it distorts the face and it's hit or miss. So for this case, I'm definitely going to leave it on. Let's adjust the lighting. I'm going to position the light over to the left to try to mimic the angle where my octabox was positioned. I'm going to play with the contrast slider. I'm going to leave this at about between 20 and 30%. Not 30%. All right, that's fine. Move about. So what else we can do to enhance this image? All right, let's head down to the eyes. Let's brighten the iris just a little. All right, 30% seems fine. Let's darken the pupils. Zoom in so we can see what we're doing. Darken the pupils a bit more. All right, that's also fine. So we're going to give this image just a bit more life, a little bit more life. We're going to add a pupil reflection. I would normally use the big beauty dish, but I'm going to apply the big octabox. Zoom out. Let's quickly reposition, and then we're going to adjust the opacity. Let's take it up. That's about fine. Let's get the other eye. It's good. And for the opacity, let's just bring it down slightly. Okay, that looks fine. So let's make some adjustments to the skin texture. I'm going to head over to skin smoothing and the imperfections. Let's take this up to about 60, between 50 and 60%. All right, 55 looks good. Let's head over to fine shadows just to soften the shadows just a bit more. I'll leave that set at 50%. And let's head over to the pores. Because I want this to look super soft, I'm going to remove some of the pores. I'll leave this here set at 50% also. And I'm going to add just a bit of sharpening, maybe about 10%. All right, let's zoom out. There's a look at the before and after. And now we're going to head back over to Photoshop. So we are back inside of Photoshop, and we're going to have a quick look at the before and the after. I'm going to hold the Alt and click on the eyeball icon. That's our starting point. And this is where we're currently at. Okay, so we're going to make this image pop a bit more. I like the colors that we got going on, but those colors are a bit flat. So I'm going to add a LUT or a color adjustment. And to do this, I'm going to apply one of my actions for this image because we got a lot of yellow and blues going on. I'm going to apply this dystopian yellows and blues action I created. And for this instance, I only want this applied to the background, to some of the fire hill, the grass, and this brick wall that we have behind her. I'm going to hit play to apply that action, and already you can see the changes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint on this layer mask here. I'm going to grab my brush tool. I'm going to hit B on the keyboard, and I'm going to hit X to toggle between the foreground and background color. And now that I am painting with black, I'm going to take the opacity to 100% because I want to remove all of this unwanted color adjustment on the model skin. So painting on the layer mask, grab my brush, and I'm just going to paint away. And already on the layer mask, you can see this black area. That's the area that I'm painting this color adjustment away from. Let's remove it off our hands. Maybe too little of the hair. And yeah, we are good. Let's zoom out. Okay, that's fine. So I want to apply another color adjustment, but this time I only want that color adjustment to be applied to the model's skin and not so much the background, because it's going to be overkill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to my actions panel again, and the color adjustment or color replacement that I want to apply is this vintage brown. So I'm going to hit play to apply that, and you can see it's applied to the entire image. Let's head back over to the layers panel, and my foreground color is set to black. So what I'm going to do is on the layer mask, I'm going to hit Alt and backspace, and that's going to remove it from the entire image. All right, so I'm going to grab my brush, going to hit B on the keyboard. I'm going to make sure I'm painting with white instead of black. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint on the skin. And because I don't want the effect to be that strong, I'm going to set my opacity to about 50%. 50. And now I'm going to slowly paint over the face and the skin area that I want this apply to. And you can see again on the layer mask now over here, this white area, that's the area this adjustment is being applied to. Okay, and this is fine. Let's zoom out. And at this point, we're going to have a quick look at the before and the after. All right, so the dogs are barking. This is the before. Zoom out a bit more. And this is our current position. So we can push this a bit further. What I'm going to do is I'm going to apply an overlay of hot embers. So let's head back over to the Adobe Bridge, and I'm going to double click on my embers file and double click to open inside of Photoshop. With my move tool, I'm going to drag this layer onto our current project. I'm going to drop it, and let's free transform. I'm going to hit Control T on the keyboard to free transform. Just rotate it to where we need it. That's fine. Let's scale it up just a little. So this is a portion of my recording where the audio went haywire, but what I'm doing is free transforming and rotating the embers layer. I committed the changes, and I dragged it just below the layer mask adjustment. And here is where I'm going to set the blend mode to screen. And what screen is doing is screen is going to hide all of the dark pixels. And after I was done with the blend mode, I just quickly repositioned the embers layer to help with my composition. And that is it. Thanks again for watching my video. If you want to follow along, you can download the project files and my actions using the link in the description below. If you're a photographer in Nassau and you want to collab, or even if you're a model looking to build your portfolio, type me in the comment section after you like my page on Facebook or subscribe on YouTube. If you want to see more of my work, follow me on Instagram or visit my website.